we like to do things in sevens, so I'm going to give you 7 tips for how to win awards. And my first tip, really, this is an obvious thing. This is something that we advise our clients to do all the time, to tailor the message to who's going to be receiving their message. But that's also really important with awards, and I'll give you a couple of examples of this. The first one was when I was judging the campaign awards last year. One of the media owners actually had created this very, very funny video. So it was trying to introduce their team. It was showing a bit of humour, a bit of personality. It was very creative. It was innovative. It was very funny. But it was also full of swearing and not very subtle sex references. So I thought it was hilarious, and I was chairing these judges. And there were some very senior clients there who I don't think realised how much media people like to swear. And they were actually quite horrified. They were kind of, this is tasteless. These people aren't taking this award seriously. They didn't understand it at all. And I think that particular media owner just, it wouldn't have been hard to have found out who was on that panel and to kind of find out a little bit about what their boundaries were and what their sense of humour was. Another one that we did at the 7 Stars, we actually took this, my own advice, to ridiculous extremes. And we had an award preparation room that looked like a murder investigation scene. So we had photographs of all these judges. We'd made notes on them all. We'd identified who we thought would probably vote for us, who we thought would never vote for us. And then we'd identified these poor, like 3 of them, I think, we identified as swing judges who we might be able to influence. Which was ridiculous. And not only did we not win, because I think we completely guessed it all wrong, but I think the 3 people who we'd identified as our targets are so petrified they've never dared come back to the agency. So apologies to them. So I think, be sensible, think about who is going to be reading the awards, think about who's going to be judging the work, and just kind of tailor the message accordingly. My second advice, this is true of many things in life, but it is also true in terms of awards. And Thinkbox are really generous with their awards because they don't charge you to enter the awards. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah. But I think just because it costs nothing to enter an award doesn't mean that you should ever enter anything just as a bit of a flyer, a bit of an outside chance, and who knows, it might just win. I think the people who are shortlisting the awards, they are forming opinions of your work, of your agency, of your clients. And I think, it really is incumbent on you entering the award to actually put a kind of common sense filter on it. When I judged Sales Team of the Year last year, Sky actually came to the judges and they said, we don't enter this every year. We haven't entered this for a long time. We only enter it when we think we've got a really good story to tell. And every single judge on the panel really respected the fact that Sky had taken that approach. So, if you haven't done the Lego ad break this year, just don't worry about it. Maybe you will next year. Maybe you'll come up with something better next year. I just, can't stress strongly enough. It's just that it doesn't reflect well to ever enter anything that's a little bit substandard. The other thing I think, and I tend to do this myself a little bit, so I'm not a massive fan of kind of business or management or self-help type books and things like that. But I do think when it comes to pitching, whether that's pitching for new business or pitching your ideas to clients, or whether that's pitching why your campaign should win an award, I think the stuff that can actually help you and inspire you. So it might be, books or TED Talks or blogs or articles. But I think, the human brain processes information in a certain way, and when you read an award entry that's poor, it's usually poor because it hasn't been written particularly well. So it kind of, goes off at tangents, or it waffles, or just doesn't get to the point. It's not single-minded enough. And I think, you can, everybody can kind of teach themselves as tricks and techniques and approaches to actually think about how the person reading the award entry, or how their brain works, and how they'll actually filter the information that you're giving them. There's 2 reasons why I shouldn't really be doing a presentation about how to win awards. The first reason is because it's really the wrong question. I think the question that we should be asking ourselves really is, how do you do award-winning work? And I think the panel that just talked to us about that campaign, and of course that campaign won numerous awards, and quite rightly, but it's actually, that's really is the point. So I think what we need to challenge ourselves, and I'm certainly not qualified to answer all of these questions, is really, how do you come up with a campaign like the Lego ad break? What's the process? What's the creativity? What are the tools you need? What's the team you need? What's the kind of the single-minded focus to actually do groundbreaking work? And I think really we need to, as an industry, we do need to think the work really matters. It's the work that matters. The award's just the icing on the cake, if you like. So I think the work matters. The year before I chaired the Campaign Media Week Awards, the chairman of the judges the previous year had been quite harsh, and he'd said any entry that he saw that had been duplicated and entered into more than one category, or for example entered into other awards and then re-entered, he just tore up. Like, that's it, disqualified. That was quite harsh, but fair, I think. If you've worked on a fantastic campaign, but the TV element wasn't the bit that made it fantastic, then don't enter it into Thinkbox. Don't enter it as the best use of TV, because it probably wasn't. Campaigns you have to think about the point you're making, the award you're making, and the order you're entering, and the criteria that have been set. And this is the other thing. So results absolutely matter, and evidence that your campaign worked absolutely matters. But I remember judging a few years ago a brilliant, actually experiential idea that had happened for a retailer, and it was happening in the pre-Christmas period. And it was kind of it was massively involving. It was engaging. It was creative. It was a fantastic experiential idea. When we got to the results that the agency put in, they started to talk about how this retailer had moved market share in pre-Christmas, and it's like, this thing happened once on a Saturday in one street. It can't possibly have affected the retailer's entire business performance for the last quarter of the year. So I think results are really important, but over-claiming results or attaching business results to a campaign where the campaign hasn't actually driven those results is an overclaim, and that will just start to get the backs up of the judges. And the second reason why I shouldn't really be doing this presentation is because 7 Stars, we're not particularly good at winning awards. We don't win a lot. We enter some, we get shortlisted sometimes, we do win occasionally, but we're not particularly a massive award-winning agency. And when this was our strategy last year at the Media Week Awards, where we were shortlisted for a couple of things, we didn't win anything, and we just thought, what the hell? We were there. We had a table. We were proud to be there. We were proud to be shortlisted, celebrating, with the rest of the industry. So we kind of made sure we were first on the dance floor. We made sure we went hard. We most certainly didn't go home. And the amount of people that came up to me at the end of that night and said, "Oh, you must be really pleased. You guys did great." And we hadn't won a thing. But I think it's nice to think, awards are an opportunity to look back on your work. They're about celebrating good work. They're about identifying good work. They're about case studies. They're about learning about what else has happened in the industry. And I think we should treat them in that way. So whatever happens, dance.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thank you. In fact, Jenny, if you just hold on a moment, does anybody have any questions for Jenny? Does anyone have any questions for Jenny? Well, I do, actually. I was wondering, are you a bit of a stickler? Do you think it's important if, for example, there are T's and C's and people exceed word count, for example? If it was a brilliant paper, would you just throw it out anyway because they've exceeded the word count?
I mean, you don't really count the words, do you? You start reading it and you either get engaged and drawn in, or you don't. I think a stickler more for what's the story? Is it single-minded? Is it focused? Is it drawing me into the paper? And are the results relevant to the activity? Would be the criteria that I would look for.
Great. And I actually have one more question as well. Lindsay mentioned Greg Grimmer's comment at the MediaTel event the year ahead, where he said no good ideas come out of a media agency. And do you think that back in the day maybe that was the case? I've heard the expression monkeys with calculators, which I'm sure you'll all love. But do you think that we've just become more and more creative over time? Or, do you think the work just hasn't been acknowledged?
No, I think, actually, to be honest, I think media agencies have always been quite focused on creativity and coming up with new ideas. I think one of the things I've noticed over time is that media owners have got better at creativity and getting involved in ideas and being more collaborative with agencies. So I think, a long time ago, media agencies were, we'd always have, strong planning functions. It's always a big part of the agency. Planning was always important. Creativity was always important. But at that time, it was almost like the agency had to do that, and then somebody had to go and convince the media owner to make it happen. And I think now media owners are very, very creative. We've found lots and lots of ideas within the media owner community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Jenny. Oh, Tess has a question.
Do I have to wait for a mic?
Oh, yes, yeah, you do, I'm afraid.
Tess from Thinkbox. A few people say to us that only because they've written an award do they realise what they should have done differently in the work, because, of course, it is the work that matters. But do you think that the discipline of writing an award, over time, if you do more of them, you start to approach your work differently? You think about, have I got proper objectives? Am I getting the real results? Could I have expanded this more? So is writing awards a way to produce better work?
I don't know, because I don't think people should start doing work, and I know you're not suggesting that, Tess, but I don't think people should be doing work in order to win an award. So I think if you start with, let's come up with something groundbreaking, let's win the next awards, let's sweep the board at the next awards ceremony, I think you end up going in the wrong direction. I think what clients really want from agencies is, yes, they want ideas, but they want effectiveness. So I think it does help as a discipline. I think as an industry, and clients as well as agencies, we're all very guilty about thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next campaign and the next AB deadline and the next whatever it might be. And it can be hard, even internally, just to get people to write a case study. That can be quite a hard discipline, but it's quite a useful thing to do.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jenny.
Thank you.